Hello, welcome. Welcome back, beautiful souls, to Coming Home to You Sparkcast, where joy is medicine, healing is a sacred, and remembrance is your superpower. But before we begin today's sacred conversation, I want to take a moment to arrive, to ground, and to soften so we can connect as one heart and one breath. So this is the one breath, one heart practice. I'm hoping that you can find a comfortable position. Let your shoulders drop. You can place one hand over your heart and the other in your womb, in your belly. If it feels safe, you can gently close your eyes. Bring to mind in this moment something you've been carrying or worrying about, maybe a weight or a tightness. And we're not here to fix it. We're just here to honor it and let it be seen. Now bring your awareness to the base of your spine, your root chakra. Take a slow breath in through your nose for 4 counts, drawing it up through your body to the crown of your head above, holding it for 4 seconds. And now as you exhale gently through pursed lips, let it carry what you are ready to release. Releasing, letting go of that heaviness, that tightness, that weight. Now I want you to picture a golden, swirling light in front of you. It's soft, radiant, and calm. And with the same pursed lips, I want you to breathe it in to your heart center, that light. Breathe it into your heart center for 4 counts. Feel it settling in your chest. Feel grounded, safe, loved. Now call to mind one thing you're grateful for. Let it fill you. Smile softly and exhale slowly for 8 counts. Let your gratitude just ripple outward. Let it expand your heart. And as you take one more deep breath in, add another layer of gratitude. Something else that lights you up. Let it glow and expand in your heart and overflow. Smile while your whole being. Smile with your face. And now whisper to your body, thank you. I love you. And as you exhale, send that golden light out to your sisters, to the world, to those who need it most today. And together we will speak the words of remembrance, the Ho'oponopono. Repeat after me. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. With a normal breath, then return back to your body, returning to this moment, setting a quiet intention in your heart for today. How do you want to show up? What do you want to receive? Thank you. With one breath and one heart, we will now begin. So now that we are here in a grounded presence, I want to welcome you to today's very special episode. This episode is for every woman who's ever felt overwhelmed, overextended, or silently suffocating beneath the weight of keeping it all together. If your body's been craving softness, if your nervous system has been whispering for space, if your soul has been calling you home, this is the conversation. Well, we'll meet you where you are and breathe with you all the way through. I am deeply honored to welcome a fellow soul sister, a beautiful leader in the world, Jen Broyles, to this podcast. She's a certified health coach, a transformational leader, a master breathwork facilitator. And she specializes in helping ambitious women break free from anxiety, overwhelm, and emotional exhaustion. Through a powerful blend of breathwork, subconscious reprogramming, and emotional intelligence with embodied coaching, she guides her clients to create rapid transformation, turning fear into empowerment, stress into clarity, and burnout into peace. She's walked the path herself, and what she shares is not theory, it's medicine, lived and embodied. Today, we explore the power of breath as a tool for coming home. You'll learn how to regulate your nervous system, tune in with compassion, and trust the wisdom of your body. We'll also hear about how to shift your inner dialogue and reclaim your joy through sacred simplicity. So, beloved sister, soften your shoulders and unclench your jaw. Lean in. Let's breathe. Let's rise. Let's remember. This is your homecoming. Please help me welcome Jen Broyles to the Sparkcast today. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a lovely introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
Great. I'm so honored. I can't wait for this conversation. Well, you really help a lot of people and women to get from overwhelm to empowerment. And your work is centered around helping high achieving women move from that burnout and anxiety into confidence and clarity. Was there a personal breaking point in your life when you realized you were being called back to yourself? And then what did that homecoming look like for you?
Wow. There were many, I would say. Yeah, the first one that comes to mind is when I was working in corporate, and I mean, this is over, gosh, this is probably 15 years ago, or more. But working in corporate, great job, working in pharmaceutical sales, actually, and um, I I was not happy. I was very unwell. Like I was dealing with a lot of health issues at the time. Um, and selling drugs that I thought were saving lives. And I personally was dealing with a lot of gut issues, a lot of anxiety and hormone issues, and found myself in my 20s seeing all these different doctors and specialists and getting put on all these different medications and nothing was helping and undergoing a bunch of different tests. I actually spent a week at the Mayo Clinic and walked away with nothing and started to just question like what is going on. And I felt like I was at the point of like taking matters into my own hands because no one seemed to know how to help. And that's what opened the door to holistic wellness for the first time in my life. Like, I didn't know anything about natural healing, holistic wellness, functional medicine, integrative medicine. And, like, let's not even talk about like some of the deeper subconscious emotional patterns and programs that play a role too. Like, I wasn't even there yet. I was just like, let's go from take a pill to, okay, let's actually see what is the root issue here, more so on a physical level, like what am I eating? How is that affecting how I feel, like the food and the food that I'm consuming? And through that, um, I learned a lot. For one, I learned how to change my diet and heal my gut, and all of that was amazing. But it also opened my mind to look at the role of stress and even just to become aware that I was in a state of chronic stress and that I was so focused on performing, looking good, pleasing other people that I hadn't even thought about what do I want and really taking time for myself, saying no to other things and saying yes to me. So I would say that was the first big situation that really started to shift my perspective and actually open my eyes to, how I was living my life and the things that I was prioritizing. There have been many instances since then, but I would say that was one of the biggest catalysts.
Wow, I love how you went from being in a place where, you felt like you were really helping, serving others, and then you realized that that same career was not serving you, and you got
Exactly.
curious and you got aware, like it is beautiful that you came to a place of responsibility
Yeah.
for your body and not having others outside of you, giving you things or giving you advice. You really like took the time to listen. And I think that's one of the things in a busy society of burnout that we forget that we get
Yeah.
to do that. That is the one and only thing that we really truly have 100% like autonomy in.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And I was, and even after that, really like giving my power away and putting it in the hands of other people to make my decisions. Or, really not, I think a lot of it came down to not fully trusting myself. And I was definitely at that time not even in tune with my body.
Mhm.
Didn't even really know what intuition was. And I tend to be very much in my head and overthink and overanalyze things. But through this whole healing journey over the last 10, 15 years, like I've had some really powerful experiences, and discovering breath work has been a huge really, I call it my medicine because it's allowed me to, one, reconnect with my body, tune into my intuition, and through that, even in small acts, like learn to trust myself again and not always have to seek other people's opinions or advice, knowing that the answers are within me. And so that's been really empowering.
Um, yes, the answers are within us. And I think I was just listening today to one of our business coaches that I think you and I both follow, and she was talking about like how we often say we don't know. Well, I don't know when we're in the weeds, right? We don't know. It's like, well, what are you pretending not to know? Because
What do you
we do know if you would just stop and listen. And a lot of the times it's that intuition, that inner knowing that you just beautifully said that we like don't even pay attention to. They're like, well, that can't be the answer. That seems too easy, right? And a lot of times it is. It's just really just coming in and trusting that you have all the answers, that you know what's best for you, and not
Mhm.
what other people are going to say you should be doing. And for the longest time, I was stuck in that cycle myself,
Mhm.
thinking that it wasn't good unless everybody else agreed that it was good.
Absolutely. And if they didn't agree, I know for me, I'd go into major self-doubt of like, oh my God, am I wrong? Is this the wrong decision? And then I'd question my decision, uh, like, like obsessively sometimes. And so, so yeah, it is a practice. And like, I love how you mentioned this phrase or this proclamation really of I don't know. And I started to become aware of how often I said that just in even little things or even like one of the things that I teach now a lot with my clients because I teach a lot around manifestation and our talk, our inner conversations, like play such a role in creating our reality. And so even the things that we're saying, oftentimes unconsciously, like we're not even aware of all of our thoughts or all of the things that we're saying to ourselves throughout the day. But I started to become aware of how often I would say, even in my mind, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And it became like this truth or this belief for me, I think because I was saying it so much. And it got to the point where I really believed that I didn't know, that I didn't trust myself, that I needed someone else to either validate my decision or my thought or my opinion, whatever it may be, or I needed to seek answers outside of me. Not to say like we don't need support, we don't need guidance, like that's all great to have, but it's also knowing that, you know, we can trust ourselves through practice and and trusting our decisions, even if they're quote unquote wrong. Like, like maybe you make a decision and you're like, oh, that wasn't maybe the right decision. But okay, like what can I learn from this? And not going into self beat up about the quote unquote wrong decision, but just trusting that we're making the best decisions in the moment with the information that we have. And a lot of times if it's, the wrong decision, you can go back and um, change things, even whether it's change that situation or do things differently in the future. And so I love how you said the Ho'oponopono prayer because I've used that a lot when I've made decisions or choices that maybe later I wish I had chosen differently. And again, going into like the inner critic or the self beat up or why did you do that? You should have done this. Like the past is in the past. It doesn't even exist anymore. And so, how can I forgive myself and love myself so that I can continue to trust my decisions, be in my power? And now, through that lesson, I will choose differently in the future. So yeah, I feel like there's so many things in this conversation because if anyone has, if this is landing for anyone here, it's like, being able to sit with some of the uncomfortable emotions that may come up as well through this retraining ourselves to really be in our power because, like there are things that may, it's not all gonna go in this upward trajectory. It's a lot of times like this, and how do we love ourselves through it all?
Yes, and I love that you presence that and because that is where and why I think this Sparkcast got created because I, for one, felt broken because I was like, I kept having these epiphanies, these aha moments, these beautiful breakthroughs just to
Mhm.
get back into a pattern again. And it's
Yeah.
like, what's wrong with me? Am I actually able to heal and to get past this? And I was just got so in my head about it. And it for a little while, it actually stopped me from moving forward because I was like, well, you know, but I'm glad and I'm grateful that I do surround myself with people like you who are in the work, who
Mhm.
know what it looks like. And the truth is, it is an up and down. And I love what you bringing up the wrong thing because is it really wrong or is it
Right.
just not what worked in that moment because you weren't actually aligned or listening to your truth?
Yeah.
And that wrong thing you did really is what is allowing you to grow in what is not for you and what is not working in it. I think even though it looks like something you did wrong, it's actually a blessing in disguise because there is some learning, some evolution, some expansion that was created from that. So I thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
And I love that you talk so beautifully about breath.
Mhm.
A couple weekends ago, I had two breath work Saturday and Sunday. And I got to tell you, I think my sacral chakra got opened because my creativity was through the roof. I
Oh
couldn't sleep for 2 days. I was just
my
like
gosh.
going away. So you
Mhm.
master breath work. You're a master breath work facilitator.
Mhm.
And breath is like the first things that we forget when we're in survival mode.
Yeah.
It's the one thing we have control over. So what makes breath work such a powerful tool for remembering your power. And what
Yeah.
is a simple practice that listeners can try
Oh
today
my.
to reconnect?
Okay. Yeah, great. So, well, I love the breath work that you opened us up with. I mean, that's a beautiful practice right there to really ground yourself. So, the breath really is the link between the body and the mind, and it impacts the state of your nervous system all the time. So, how you breathe is how your nervous system is going to be, and your nervous system is like you're either in fight or flight, survival, chronic stress, or you're in the rest, relax, restore phase. And most of us are in this chronic stress cycle. And so when our nervous system is dysregulated and in like hyper mode, chronic stress, arousal all the time, that's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to burnout. That's what leads to illness. That's what leads to exhaustion and frustration and not having any resilience, not being able to handle daily situations. If everything feels stressful and too much, then your nervous system's likely dysregulated. We want to bring that back into homeostasis. It's the way our bodies are designed to be. But we're just flooded with so much information these days. It's like information overload. And so, um, by using our breath, we can start to regulate the nervous system. And when we regulate the nervous system, then with practice, again, um, you're going to find that your thoughts are just going to be a lot more grounded and calm. Your body is going to feel better. Your sleep will improve. You'll feel energized during the day. You're just going to start to feel good again. And so for me, um, I over the years have dealt with a lot of anxiety. So anxiety was something that I really wanted to learn how to heal or manage. I was on medication for years, and once I got into holistic wellness, and for me personally, I didn't want to be on those medications, especially for the rest of my life. So I was looking for natural solutions, and I tried supplements to help with stress, which some of them can be really helpful. Um, I was doing a lot of like self-care, which I still do, working out, getting out in nature, journaling. And all of those were well and good, but I was like, I feel like there's like a deeper layer that I haven't addressed yet. I don't know what it is, and I don't know like how to do it. Um, and around that time, breath work came into my awareness through people who I would be in conversation with, and it literally came up in conversation like three times, like back to back to back. And I'm like, okay, what is this breath work? Like, I am in the holistic wellness space. Why have I not heard of breath work? Like I had heard of, the box breath and different like breathing techniques, but not breath work. And I was actually, this is back in 2019. I was at the time was living in Dallas, but I was traveling. I was spending some time in Southern California, and a practitioner that I knew out here, we were talking. She's like, "You should totally try breath work." And I was like, "Okay, like where do I go find breath work? What is breath work? I don't even know what it is." And she was like, "Just Google it. There's tons of breath work in San Diego. You'll be able to find something." And I was like, "All right." So by that point, I was like, okay, this keeps coming up. Like, it's time for me to listen. Usually, if I hear things three times, I'm like, okay, there's the message. Pay attention. And and so I did. I Googled breathwork, and I found a breathwork class real close to where I was staying, and had already made plans to go to that. But interestingly, before I went to that class, the reason I was out in Southern California was for a health and wellness conference. And so I went to that first, and there happened to be a breathwork instructor there leading a breathwork class. And I was like, oh, how beautiful. So I went to that, and he was a Wim Hof instructor, and he guided like a 20-minute breathwork experience. It was short, but in those 20 minutes, I was like mind blown. Like I was like, what just happened? That was so powerful. I feel amazing, and I feel like just totally elevated from this experience. And that was like 20 minutes, and I was like, how why don't I know about this? Like, or why am I just now finding out about this? Because it changed my state so quickly. And it was just my breath. It was just how I was breathing for 20 minutes. That was it. And so after that, I was like super curious to learn more. And so I went to this other class I had already found. And that one was a different style of breath work. And it was an hour. And oh my goodness, like the hour long experience of again breathing in a certain way with some music. And I mean, I found that in that experience I cried so much, and up until then I had been pretty blocked emotionally. I had really learned over the years to suppress my negative emotions and not feel them. And I thought that was just the way to do things. And so for me to cry for the good part of an hour was a really like shocking thing. And I didn't know why I was crying, but it just felt really good. It felt really good. And so, and also my body was like shaking. I've since learned that those are all forms of release, emotional release, energetic release, processing trapped emotions. Potentially, then, like for some people, it's like processing old trauma. Um, but it was so profound. And again, at the end, I felt so blissful, so light, so relaxed, like no anxiety. And I slept amazing. And so I'm at this point, I'm hooked. And I went back to another one of those classes. And then I tried another class while I was still out here in Southern California. And that other class was another style of breath work called Soma. And that experience was my favorite out of all of them. I just felt, again, blissful, elevated, and it was a different style of breathing that I was like, I could do this. It wasn't super intense. There's some breath work that's like really intense breathing that's great to do sometimes, but not all the time because it's very stimulating to the nervous system. And so it's not something you want to do all the time. But Soma breath was very grounding. I still had really profound experiences and releases and all of that, but the way we were breathing just felt more natural. It felt calm. It felt grounding. And afterwards, I felt incredible. And again, I found it to be really, really helpful for anxiety and stress. And so from that moment, I dove into my own practice and did a Soma breathwork practice every single day. And through that, I really felt the call, the message. Every time I did the breathwork, the message was there of like, you've got to share this, you've got to teach this, other people need this. And I resisted it for a while because I was like, I've got enough certifications. I don't need to like do any of that. But it just wouldn't go away. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I dove into the training back in 2019, and they have several different levels. And so I spent a couple years going through all of their training, and now I'm master certified. So I'm a breath instructor and have gotten to teach hundreds, maybe even thousands of people breath work and facilitate really powerful experiences for people. And I love facilitating because like the transformation that I get to witness in an hour is so incredible. Like you just can't explain it. People walk in one way and they leave a completely transformed, lighter, really more like they've come back home to themselves, I would say. Like they are grounded, they are present, and they feel really good. And it's like their natural state. And it's beautiful to witness.
It's beautiful to witness you even talking about it. I can really feel your love and passion for this. Like it really feels that it is something that completely shifted your ways of being, without having to know. And I think that's what's great about breath work is that you don't have to know. Like when you work with your energy subtly like that, you don't have to know what you're holding on to, what the trauma is, if it's even trauma.
Hmm.
Sometimes it could be something benign that happens that just stuck with you for some random reason, some
Hmm.
quote somebody said in passing by, and that could really stay in your body and create,
Hmm.
so many issues. So I love that you tried a few, and I think that's something that I hear often too. People who've tried breath work, oh, breath work is not for me. It's like, well, you just haven't found the one that is for you. And I encourage everybody out there who's really hearing something beautiful of what she's sharing about breath work and the power of breath work. I really encourage you to go and try different techniques. Even just a slow 4 box breath will help calm that stress, calm the anxiety.
Hmm.
Um, and I just love that it can really reprogram that inner narrative
Totally
that we
can.
have too, because when you start to feel better about yourself and you're elevated in your mood, you're
Hmm.
not having that critical inner the inner critic that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Um, because so you guide your clients through these deep subconscious reprogramming. What are
Hmm.
some of the most common limiting beliefs that you see these ambitious women holding on to, and how do we begin to rewrite those stories with compassion
Yeah.
and truth?
Oh, I love this question. And I think and you may relate to as coaches or practitioners, I find that I tend to attract clients similar to me. And so, a lot of the limiting beliefs I see, I have a lot of people that come to me with anxiety, so that's a big complaint. What's underneath that is what we get to look at. And I have had a number of clients say, like, I tried breath work, it made my anxiety worse. And I'm like, okay, let's give this a try because it is like you said, like finding the right style of breath work for the person in that moment. It doesn't mean like doing other ones in the future may not be helpful, but especially for people dealing with chronic anxiety, and their nervous systems are already overstimulated. I find that doing some more grounding, calming breath work to be really effective, at least in the beginning. We don't want to like fry the nervous system. We want to like bring it back to balance. So, but in terms of limiting beliefs, it's a lot of unworthiness, not feeling good enough. Um, I see a ton of perfectionism. So this idea of doing everything perfect, of appearing perfect, of looking good, fear of making mistakes. Um, and so often that leads to procrastination or just feeling stuck because they're not willing to take bold action or take risks that anything that feels risky or that they might not do well or be good at. So I see a lot of that, playing small, hiding. And yeah, I would say those are the big ones. And I think, underneath that is fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, betrayal. Um, so, so when it comes to reprogramming the subconscious mind, the reason why breath work is so powerful is because it gets us into a state. So, like I mentioned earlier, I actually lead a group, a manifestation group, and so I teach all of the like universal laws and principles of manifestation, and it really ties into um, subconscious reprogramming work and breath work. One of the things I do for this group is breath work because when it comes to manifestation and consciously manifesting, we're always manifesting because we are creators. But what we're creating in our life may not be what we consciously want because the subconscious mind is in the driver's seat. 95% of our experience is due to the subconscious mind. And so if our external reality is not matching what we consciously desire, then that's a situation that we need to address at the subconscious level. Okay. And so when it comes to reprogramming the subconscious mind, one of the best ways to do it is to be in a state similar to sleep. And so that's why like hypnotherapy can be so powerful, but breathwork can too, because we're getting the mind into a state similar to sleep, where the veil, if you will, the veil between the conscious and the subconscious is thinned, and so we've got now direct access to the subconscious mind. So it's a lot more easy to imprint the subconscious mind with new beliefs and new programs that are actually going to serve you. So, I think of the subconscious mind or the mind in general almost like a computer. And the subconscious remembers everything, everything. Even though you may not have a conscious memory of it, the subconscious records and remembers everything from the womb to now. And most of our imprints that affect us now as adults were formed between the ages of 0 to 7, so as children. Okay, so we're really suggestible as children. We're absorbing everything in our world. And so the programs that we're running as adults are actually not even our programs. They were given to us by our parents and teachers and whoever was in our life as kids. And that's your set of beliefs, your ideologies, how you view the world, how you view yourself, all of those programs. And so some of these programs are running in the background in your subconscious, all these programs really, and they're influencing your behaviors and your experience in your life today. Now, some of those programs may be working for you really well, some of them may not. And so, just like we would want to do with a computer, if some of the programs are old and outdated and maybe they're slowing down the system, we want to delete them and we want to upgrade. We want to upgrade the software, if you will. And that's exactly what we're doing when we're doing the breath work and and ultimately imprinting new programs that are going to be supportive and in alignment with what you're wanting to create. So when I lead breath work, I'm using really powerful music, and the music is also there's also brainwave entrainment technology built into the music, so it helps get your mind into a more meditative, relaxed state. And then we're breathing in a rhythm, which helps regulate your nervous system. And we do certain types of breath holds as well, which actually opens the door even more to the subconscious. And then I'm speaking over the music, oftentimes, either with affirmations or with a visualization, and using words that are really empowering, really supportive, really loving, really nurturing. Sometimes I'll do meditations that are more about release, like kind of like what you did earlier, like and letting the body determine what's ready to be released, because at this point we're not in the mind, we're not in the analytical mind, but letting the body process and move what's ready to be released, and letting the intuitions get clear on what you're ready to call in, what you're ready to attract, who you're stepping into, what you're called to be, what ways of being are you stepping into, what does that feel like. And once we can start to embody the feeling of who we want to be, what we want to attract, what we're ready to create, and embody the feeling of being that person now, that's how we start to bring it into our reality. So it's a really powerful practice. It's fun too. That's the other thing I love about breath work is that um, I think there's a lot around like healing, especially uh, like just around trauma, like that's a really big buzzword right now. And um, kind of like this idea that you spoke to earlier of this, I think there's a lot of people that are in this space that may feel like they need to be fixed or they're broken. And one, I would offer that's not true. And two, healing doesn't always have to be difficult and complicated and just like crying all the time. It can also be fun. And so with breath work, I find that yeah, sometimes you're going to have like really like deep experiences with breath work where maybe you are crying, but you're likely going to feel incredible afterwards. And then other times you're just going to feel amazing the entire way through. And so it can feel really good and it can be fun and healing at the same time.
I love that you ended with it. It can be fun, and I think that is where I'm leaning towards. I feel that, you know, the trauma is a big buzzword right now, and I love that intellectually we know it, we're leaning
Yeah.
into it, but I think the missing link is like coming into the body,
Yeah.
like
Agree.
bringing that trauma awareness of how to release it into the body. I think we know how to let go here, but our
Hmm.
body is still saying, "You don't leave it behind."
Yeah.
I'm the one holding on to all of it. And
Yeah.
it is that subconscious because we could intellectually know it and have those breakthroughs, but subconsciously it's like we're still holding on because we
Mhm.
haven't tapped in. And I think when we can approach it in a fun way, that also can just give us a sense of confidence,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
If once when you're like, oh, there's maybe your hip is hurting, you're like, what? Ask your hip, why is your hip hurting?
Yeah.
Your hip will tell
Hmm.
you what it needs. It literally will tell you what it needs.
Exactly.
And I've been able to release some pain during that. I had chronic hip pain for years. I was just getting worse and worse. And one day I was just like, okay, talk to me. And I
Hmm.
did 15 minutes of ugly cry, but it was like a release with the intention of letting go. And I felt that energy whoosh from my hip down out of my toes, and that pain was gone. And I was just like
It's
blown
so,
away.
so amazing. Yeah, it
It,
is. It is fascinating,
yeah.
the role of
And it's,
emotions and
yeah.
physical imbalance or pain or any sort of ailment or dis-ease. Um, there is an emotional component, and so being able to look at that, and I love that you talked to it. I have done that in the past personally with fear and anxiety, and that's one of the things I'll suggest to my clients too is like instead of like resisting it, because what we resist persists, like, because, who wants to feel anxious or
Hmm.
have a bunch of fear coming up? It doesn't feel good, so we don't want to feel it. But if we can just like lean into it and talk to it and be like, hey, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. What can I do for you? What are you trying to tell me? And I can't tell you like how many times that's really helped me, and I just feel it dissolve. I almost see it as like sometimes I see it as my little girl just saying, "Hey, like I just want to be seen," or like, "Are we safe?" Yes, everything's okay, and it goes away.
Yes, it is that inner child, that
Mm,
part of us that we abandoned years ago, that we continue to subconsciously abandon.
yeah.
But in the world full of chaos, it gets hard for women to weed through that, right? And
Mm,
so the next question is about confidence without the chaos.
mm.
In the world that just rewards constant productivity, what does it truly mean to embody calm confidence? And how can we stop confusing busy with purpose to start
Mm.
leading from a grounded soul aligned space?
Yeah, wow, those are big questions. And I love them. I love them. Yeah, I think it is just continually coming back to yourself, trusting yourself, doing practices during your day that are going to get you out of the mind, get you out of the noise in the external world, and help you tune in to you and your inner voice, your inner guidance, God, whatever that may be for you, but having that connection and listening. So truly like silence, alone time, getting out in nature, grounding your feet in the earth, um, meditation, breath work, journaling, like all of these practices are so powerful. And I think that really helps build confidence as well when we learn how to trust ourselves, when we through maybe even small steps. I know it was small steps for me, like really start to use our voice, um, and let ourselves be seen, let ourselves be heard. Um, Maybe speak up and be do something that feels bold and realize you're okay on the other side of it. And just stretching yourself, a little bit in different ways, like kind of stretching those edges of the comfort zone, is what will ultimately build confidence. And I find that with the breath work, I feel really when I'm doing it, and for me also, I'll say breath work, but also for me, dancing. I love to dance. I feel like I can get super present and incredibly embodied when I dance. And that is one way that I feel, oh yeah, we got the little dancers. I love it. That is one way that I feel super powerful. I feel confident, I feel powerful, I feel feminine when I'm dancing. And so honestly, like the more I dance, the more I can embody that confidence. And once we start to feel what it feels like, feeling is the key. Feeling is the key when it comes to manifestation. So if you are stepping into yourself being confident or worthy or um, bold or whatever it is for you, like what does that feel like? This is actually self-concept work right here, and I teach a lot about that. But Um, what way of being are you ready to embody? And so if it's confidence, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be confident? Because it's not enough, like you just said earlier, it's not enough to know it conceptually, like in your head. What does it feel like to be confident? So think back to a time where you were confident. You are showing up as confident. What did that feel like? And really start to embody that feeling of being confident and do things in your life that help you feel confident. The more you can start to embody it and practice it, the more it's going to become your natural state. So that's one thing I would say is feeling is the key, feeling is the secret. So anything that is going to help you feel the way of being that you are stepping into, in this case, confidence, do that.
I love to feel it is to heal it.
There you go.
To feel it is to heal it. And we hear it so many different ways, you know. But it's true. And I think that's where people get stuck. At least I was for a while. I'm speaking for myself because it came with self-judgment, that that criticism of, you know, oh, I'm such a horrible person for doing this. You know, maybe it's something a mistake I made or a judgment that I made that was not in alignment with my truth and the self beat up. You know, sometimes you just want
Yeah.
to avoid feeling that. So I think the important thing is just to remember to be neutral and just be curious in that space when you want to
Hmm.
feel something. Don't attach a meaning to it. Don't make it right or wrong. I think that's important to highlight because I think we say it often, but people get stuck. And I think that's where they get stuck because they feel like a horrible person or they feel there's something wrong with them for feeling that feeling. And the
Mm.
important thing is to just be gentle on yourself. Give yourself grace. Giving myself grace was the first step in me actually choosing the healing. Even though
Wow.
I've been desperately looking for healing forever, but it was when I gave myself the grace when I
Hmm.
forgave myself for those trespasses that those choices that I made, that was when I really lean into the healing and when all these beautiful breakthroughs and every single choice that I made after that has really helped compound the healing
Mm.
because I am in a higher awareness of what resonates with me now.
Yeah.
And so I think we only get there by practicing. And I love how you kept saying practice many times during this conversation because it really is a practice. I mean, I
It
think
is.
on our big panel call yesterday, it was talked about how doctors practice medicine. You know, it's yoga is a practice. It's all these things. It's not about perfecting anything. It's just really about coming home to your truth. And the truth of that is that life is this way
Yeah.
because life is always going to be this way. And it's
Hmm.
the tools and the techniques that I'm hoping people like you on the show are generously giving all the listeners these practical tools that are really going to help ground you in your truth and not the noise
Yeah.
of the having to look good and having to get it right. And I think when you listed the limiting beliefs, I felt like you listed it all that I have. And I think it's
Yeah.
so it's just like me. I always like to say, raise my hand, just like
Oh,
me.
yeah.
And I think a lot of you out there, if it's just like me, say it. Please comment it just like me, because I think when we all can see each other, we will all just be easier on ourselves and one another, I think. Right?
Absolutely. I think that's
But
one of the biggest things too. Just being in like leadership with you and everything, knowing that okay, I'm not alone in this. Like, I'm not the only one feeling these things. Like, it's kind of the human experience, and there's definitely certain things that women tend to experience more than men, and certain things that men tend to feel more than women. But knowing that, like, we're all in it together, and we can all support and like lift each other up.
yeah. So true. And I'm so bummed to say that this call is coming to a close now, but if you could speak directly to that woman listening who's just on the edge of transformation, but still scared, stuck
Mm,
in old patterns, what would you invite her to remember about her
mm,
breath, her power, and her worth today?
yeah. I'm going to share a quote. It keeps coming up throughout this, and it just keeps popping into my mind. It's a quote by Carl Rogers, and it's a quote that I love. He said, "When I love myself exactly as I am, then I can change." And it speaks to the power of self-love and then the power of transformation. So I know I have gotten stuck in this in the past, this idea of like, I've got to keep improving, transform, like become the highest version of myself. It's never enough. But we also get to love ourselves exactly as we are. You get to love yourself exactly as you are. Nothing about you has to change. And when you
Mm,
do that, then the transformation happens.
mm. Nothing about you has to change. That gave me chills.
Mm.
Um, you're not broken. You're just becoming. That's all the things that I could think of because
Yep.
it's true. It's true. And it's time that we hear that and then we embody that and truly believe it.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that stopped me, like I said earlier, feeling broken. It's just like, oh, it's never going to change for me.
Mhm.
I'm the exception here. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here today. What a beautiful, breath-filled conversation that we shared here today with Jen Broyles. You were invited to come home to the body, to say yes to its wisdom, and to listen closely, not to the noise outside, but to the subtle truth within. Jen reminded us that our power doesn't live in someone else's hands. It lives in our ability to trust ourselves again. To grow our intuition is to ask brave questions like, what am I pretending not to know? To validate our own decisions and practice coming back to our center again and again. We explored the power of breath as regulation, as emotional release, as medicine. We heard that our bodies are speaking through sensations, emotions, whispers in the stillness. Are we listening? That trauma can be processed, that energy can shift, that we are not stuck. We are sacred. We also heard that it's okay to stretch gently beyond the edges of comfort, that small steps build real confidence. And dancing is a superpower. I love that you brought dancing. It has saved my life
Mm.
many, many times.
So
We
true.
also heard that feeling is the key to healing. And the more we practice, the more we embody who we truly are. We remembered that the subconscious programming we carry is not a life sentence. It's just an invitation to rewrite the script. So today we ask, what way of being are you ready to embody? And how does that feel in your body? Until next week, bring your coffee, bring your softness, bring your sisters and your curiosity for next week's Sparkcast episode. Come as you are, with your robe, with your messy bun, your big heart and all. You're welcome here. Thank you for being here, Jen. Thank you all out there listening for being here in the sacred circle of truth, remembrance, and soul-led healing. If this conversation stirred something within you, or if your heart cracked open just a little more and you felt seen or heard, please share this. Please come back and know that you are exactly where you're meant to be. Keep shining your light. I love you.
Thank you.